Awesome. So let's get going. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our QWebinar on unlocking the power of low-code speed with caution. So in this ever-evolving landscape of software development, we know that low-code offers a promising avenue for simplification and speed. However, to truly harness its potential, it's imperative to navigate this terrain with caution, like driving a car at high speeds. So today, let's dwell into the world of low-code, exploring the benefits, best practices, and whether it's the right choice for you and your organization. So quickly about our speaker, Marjolein Pordon. She's a low-code enthusiast, popularly known as Lady Low-code. She will be joining Regis BV in Netherlands as a quality consultant soon. She's a speaker for Green Software Foundation on green software development. And one of our goals is to share knowledge, experience, and her enthusiasm for low-code. So without any further ado, let's get ready to unlock the secrets of effective low-code development. I welcome Marjolein. It's an honor to have you here, talk about low-code, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. So welcome everybody, and I will talk about unlocking the power of low-code speed with caution. What am I going to talk to you about today? What is low-code? I will have some insights on that, but also what are the pros and cons of low-code. I will add the testing part to that, and also how we can implement low-code looking to the Formula One as an example. So I'm Marjolein Pordon, and in the past I started at a low-code assignment and got really enthusiastic. So I did some low-code assignments afterwards on testing and quality in low-code, and that got me the nickname Lady Low-code from one of my coworkers. I will start a new challenge at the 1st of October as a quality consultant at Pragus. But besides being an enthusiast about low-code, I ride my kick bike, listen to 45 musics, especially blues and soul music. I love cooking, especially the 10-course Christmas dinner that's a tradition in our family. And besides that, reading a book with a good cup of tea. But enough about me. Let's talk about what is low-code. Well, this is my definition of low-code. There are quite a lot of low-code definitions. But low-code is a transformative approach to software development because it enables users with varying technical backgrounds to build applications efficiently through visual interfaces and reusable elements. Well, what does that mean? It means you can build by drag and drop, and it looks a lot like Lego. Like I said, you can have various technical backgrounds for low-code, but also for Lego. If you see Lego Classic, anyone can build from 4 years old to 99-year-old. You get a booklet with step-to-step instructions, and you can build away. Low-code is the same, yet if we want something more complex, Lego offers us Lego Technic. For the more engineering enthusiasts, that are definitely also possibilities within low-code. And last but not least, Lego has Mindstorms. And those with a knack for mechanics and engineering programming challenges can do that. You can build robots and also program them to walk, to ride, to pick something up, to throw something in the trash. The options are limitless. And like Mindstorms with low-code, you can think about integrating AI, data analysis, and advanced workflows. The versatility of low-code from beginners to experts fosters the creativity in structured foundation because you have the building blocks, but you can customize them in a way. And Lego represents low-code's inclusivity, making it an inviting realm for beginners, novices, but also professional engineers. So what are the pros and cons of low-code? We have, on the one side, accelerated development by pre-built components, visual interfaces. It makes you, gives you the possibility to develop faster. Yet it also has enhanced productivity by an intuitive drag and drop. And the collaborative work together, because you as a novice can work together with professional engineers. You can work faster. It's not only the engineers that are programming, but also the citizen developer. I will tell more about the citizen developer later. And flexibility and agility, that's a modular approach with rapid prototyping. Low-code is excellent for trying out a prototype for your system to know if it's working without excessive days of programming. A good example of that is we had a kitchen showroom in Holland that needed to close due to COVID. They asked on Monday to a developer, please make us an app that people can make appointments in. And on Tuesday it was live because it was made with low-code. Then the cons. Because even though low-code has a lot of pros, there are some trade-offs. And we'll go deeper into that later, but for now you have customization constraints, which means that pre-built components limit your specialization and unique requirements. Also, the learning curve and skills gap. You need to adapt to a new development environment, but also if you are a citizen developer, you need to get used to developing, even though it is low-code. And vendor dependency and lock-in, when you depend heavily on one platform of low-code, integrations will be difficult and you might restrict future choices. So let's dive deeper in the pros. And I will use Disney. Disclaimer, this footage is not mine, it's owned by Disney, but it's very good for illustration. So Disney uses animation recycling. As we can see on the left and on the right, they use the same drawings, the same animations. And by modifying and repurposing those animations that are already made, they save time and resources. Also, they accelerate production while ensuring consistency because they are already good drawings. All you need is to add or leave out a bird, change the background, but still the basics, you do not need to draw them new. And the same goes for low-code. You have pre-built components that you can use over and over and over again. And if you use them over and over again, you don't have to make them new. Even it's good for the environment because with reusing, it saves you also a lot of data that you need to save. So also it gives flexibility to change the scenes, and the building blocks that we used are reused but also customized. So that gives you flexibility. So accelerated development, saving time and resources. You have an enhanced productivity with a streamlined production, and flexibility and agility because you reused, just customized your building blocks. So what are the cons? And I already give a bit away with an explosion, but let's watch this video to give an idea of the cons of low-code, focusing on customization constraints. We are seeing an egg in a microwave. It's being cooked for like 5 minutes. It's beginning a bit to sweat. I'm curious what will happen. Ooh, that looks bad. Ouch. So maybe cooking an egg in a microwave is not such a good idea. Well, if we look to the cons and the customization constraint, in the culinary world, you have standards for like cooking an egg, but also you have customization. So if we see the microwave, it might have been better if you just put on some water in a pan, put the eggs in, and I don't care the temperature of the water, I don't care how long you put the egg in, but it at least will not explode because you have a standard. And what does the microwave mishap learns us? There are customization constraints in low-code. There are standards. They're not there to pain you or to be a bother to you. No, they are there to make sure you have a safe and good quality application. So it learns us that we need to work with the standards. And like the classic bowl, we have a customization for temperature and time. We can have a hard-boiled egg, soft-boiled egg. We can add salt to the egg or some other thing. We can even bake it. But it's important to keep the balance between customization and standards. And that might be also where low code is underestimated, because those customization constraints, you need to navigate them. And yes, you can go around them. Like I can put an egg in a microwave. You can go around the constraints of low code. Yet if you do, you might sooner or later make your system explode. So by preserving integrity, software and eggs are alike. Keep an eye on the standards for your own safety and also the integrity of your system. Then the next one, learning curve and skills gap. This goes about citizen development. And we see a clothespin, and clothespins are usually the best excelling in hanging laundry. Yet we see here we can do a lot of other things with clothespins. Yet, although they have many applications, they have a core purpose. If we look at the citizen developer, usually they are business analysts or even testers, but they are not developers. So they do miss some idea of what it takes to develop. Also, why would I use a clothespin if better tools would be available to do things? Because like this thread, if I want to do an electricity thread and do the shell, then I can use also normal tooling instead of a clothespin with a razor blade. So you do need to think about, when do I add a citizen developer to my team? It might not be the best choice. Yet, if you let them collaborate, and that's about harnessing the citizen developer strengths with a developer, an engineer, they can be the ultimate link between the stakeholders on the non-technical side as well as the stakeholders on the technical side, because they understand the business as well as they are learning to understand what the developers do. And with that, you will be balancing the intricate tasks of the professional to the citizen developer. And you wouldn't let a clothespin fix complex machinery. You shouldn't let a citizen developer do that either. So make sure that the skills are in the right place and that they are collaborating together. Then the vendor dependency and lock-in. There was a father with a 3D printer, and he heard his kids say, well, I've got Knicks, I've got bristle blocks, I've got Lego, I want to combine them, I want to make it all together. But what we see with Lego is Lego wants that you use Lego. They want to discourage cross brands. The same is with low code. If you have low code, it's not easy if you want to refrain from that platform to choose another platform, and that you can shift what you already have. You cannot transfer it to a new platform. So that gives a risk. Of course, you can try to mix it, to integrate. So I think, yeah, the light goes on again, sorry. So you can try to integrate, and that's what the dad did. He made a universal construction kit, making it possible to not just 3, but 10 different construction toys to mix. This can also be done for low code, yet integrations are possible, but not without risk. Because, and we all know that about integrations, it's hard to match. Are they secure? Is everything in place? Aren't we missing anything? What's happening under the water? Things like that. It's really navigating the balance. And if you want to build to the future, make sure you ensure compliance and freedom. So prioritize the platforms that give you that freedom and think about security. And then if we look to what children make with that universal construction kit, it works, but does it look, it's compliant, but does it look really good? Does it look sturdy? I don't think so. And it's same as with low code. It can be done, but you really need to know what you're doing to make the integrations work. So then to the cool part, the thrilling part, the thrilling ride to implement low code, because I think that low code implementations are underestimated. And I'm a huge fan of the Formula One. And I think that if we learn from the Formula One, we can implement low code in a way better way than that we are doing for the time now. And it will also help us adeptly navigating the pitfalls. So let's start. If we look to the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, aka FIA, they have regulations, quite a lot of them. And the Formula One teams complain about those standards and those regulations because they want to build the best car. But the FIA has one sole purpose, one big purpose for them, and that's to keep it safe. The safety car, the regulations, the red flags, the yellow flags, virtual safety car, they are all there to make sure that the drivers are safe. They drive with sometimes 300 kilometers an hour. That's super, super fast. If something goes wrong, like rain or things like that, people can die, and we really do not want that. So even though they restrict the Formula One teams, it is necessary to restrict them. The standards are there for safety. And within those standards, there's still a lot of room for personalized customization. So I think that there's a link between testers and the FIA, because we, and then mostly the people from the FIA that do the checks on the cars and the tracks, because we are at the place in the workflow where we can check if those regulations are being followed, from the refinement and the making of the stories up until the deployment of the applications. So I think that because low code is a fast development, we should also introduce test automation in this. And this is really a challenge because most low code platforms are generating code, which means most of the time they have not made sure to make unique IDs. So if I have a website and on the visual I see 3 times the word teacher with the same ID below it in the CSS and in the HTML, then what can I do? So it's really hard with those restrictions to make test automation work. Also working fast, making sure it works good, and make sure that it will give you value. Yet manual testing everything will take also time and will also delay the team to deploy. So I think the testers are partly to compare with the FIA, because we also do a verification process on are the regulations followed of the low code. And FIA works for fairness and competitiveness, and we testers too. We really want the team to have velocity and to work, but we also want a good product. And that's a balance that we need to find. And besides that, we also want the safety and security of the platform to work. And as an example, I have a platform that I was working for, and I noticed that if I changed something on the profile information, either from myself or one of our customers, the password would change instantly in redacted for the person I changed the profile from. So I said to the platform, okay, but this is a bug and a security breach. We need to do something about it. And they said, well, this is your application. We offer the platform and it's your problem. It is a security breach on their side, but I couldn't make that clear to them. And then you have a discussion, but we still are the ones that need to make sure that our application is safe and secure for the customer. So we also have the role to make sure that the vendor will keep their promises. And that's also what the FIA does in their regulations and verification process. So I think there's an extensive role for testers to play in this whole security and safety verification process. Then the team, because the tester will not do it alone. The citizen developer will not do it alone. And in the Formula One, they are not doing it alone. And I am a Dutchie. I really like how Max Verstappen, but also Checo Perez are driving this season. But Max is not doing it alone. And I know that there's quite some comments about Max because, well, he wins everything. No, the team wins everything. Because if Giampiero Lambiase, his race engineer, doesn't give him the right data about his tires or other, like the motor or brake heating, then Max will not know how the state of his car is. If the strategist like Hannah Smith doesn't give him the weather information or things like that, it will stall him. If the pit crew has not the tires ready, well, too bad, Max, but it takes 10 seconds to change your tires. He needs those 10 seconds to win. The same goes for our team of low-codes. What I see going wrong a lot with teams is they missing roles. So they say, well, it's low code, so we do not need to test, or the developer can test. So most of the time you do have a project manager and product owner and a low code developer. But for me, I think you also should have a business analyst who knows and understands the business, an integration specialist, because if you want integrations because you have a big ERP system or a big landscape of applications, you do need to know someone, need to have someone who knows about those risks best. A UX UI designer, another example, which was quite fun, because the low-code developer said, well, if you want to activate your stock for a shop, then you need to cross-mark that box, then you need to click below, and then you need to do something in the top. So you need 3 steps to just put one thing on. I said, well, that's really unlogic. I'm already forgetting what you said. How can I explain this to a customer? No, this is really logical. So you also need a UX UI designer to tell the developer what to do to help them understand how a customer thinks. And last but not least, the quality consultant. I think as a tester, you need to understand better with low-code. You have an overview role about the system, about the low-code platform. So you are more than a tester, you're a quality consultant. And quality has to do with the standards, the security, also the quality of the stories, the definition of ready, definition of done. So you really are, with a team, responsible to make it work like in Formula One. Make sure your team works together. Well, how do we do that? The collaboration in the Formula One is everyone has a designated role. Everyone knows what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how much time they have to do it, how they have to do it, when they have to do it. It's all clear. And based on their individual strengths. And they rehearse, and they rehearse, and they check again. And you as a team should do that too. Use the retrospectives to know if everyone is still on board. Does everyone still know what they want to do and when they need to do it? Because low code is fast development. And if you do not do these checks and if you do not know what you're doing, then you can also make fast a lot of issues that might, like the egg in the microwave, not come up early, but they will eventually come up, and then it's too late, or it will cost a lot of money to change things. Another thing is, like in a pit stop, you have synchronized actions. And I have an example of that, because if you save work while working in the same module of a part of a low-code application, if I'm working and I save something, but you are working at the same module and you save after me, then it might be that my work is gone. And that's why a lot of platforms say you need CI/CD, and you need to have clear distinction between who works on what. And the same goes for the pit stop. If I think that I need to do the front left rear, the front left tire, but I should do the rear left tire, then I'm in the way of someone else and I'm not doing my job correctly. And the rear left tire is not changed, or it takes more time to change. So you really need to communicate clear. You have to have an accurate anticipation of what can happen, because if it rains, someone might just have had a pit stop and a change of tire, but they need another change of tire because it starts to rain and they need rain tires. So you also need to adapt quick. Also within low code, you have changing project requirements, you have changing things in the market. You need to be able to anticipate. And for that, you have to have a good collaborative team. So you need a culture of collaboration, like the well-oiled Formula One team. Everyone needs to know their role, they manage expectations, and they communicate efficiently. Like Max drives, but he needs his team. If one team member is not doing his job correctly, then he will not have the same success. So that's the pit stop. Sorry. Then the pit stop. As we can see on the photo, they won the fastest pit stop award 2021. So let's see how that pit stop went. Yeah, that's goosebumps for me. 2 seconds and 64 hundredths of seconds. And this is what they do. And Red Bull calls it pit stop poetry. I agree with them. There are 4 people on the front right and the front left. You have 1 jack at the front and the rear to pull the car up, and 4 people on the rear, and again on the sides also a jack and someone who is filling the engine with air. And everyone knows where to be when, make sure that everything is ready to make the fastest pit stop. And they are even quicker, I see, because one time they did below 2 seconds. With low code, with quick development, you have the same thing. And like I said, if you work on the same module, you are in the way. So you really need to know what you're doing and make sure that everything is on tight schedules, speedy tire change, and ensure access without compromisation, because you have good collaboration, good communication. So the pit stop. It's with CI/CD and with the pit stop, it's a meticulously choreographed process. It's streamlined, and testing needs to be streamlined, because if we develop quickly, we also need to test quickly. And it might be that you have small parts to test, because if a developer change one building block and it's very small, then he is done very quickly in, like, I don't know, 10 minutes. But for testing, that building block is block A, and it's used on 20 other places in the system. I need to test the 20 other parts of the system, because block A is changed. And can the other 20 places that it's used handle the change? Will they not fall off? And that makes testing a time consuming part, but it's not allowed in low code. You need to be quick. So what I am looking into now is how to get the balance of manual testing, test automation, risk assessment to make sure that you test the right things, but not too much, and make sure that the quality is not compromised. And that, like I said, test automation is quite hard because the most record and playback tools cannot handle low code. I have not the experience of programming test automation, and then it's quite hard to make sure that it's test automated, even if you do use programming for test automation. It takes time to set up, it takes time to maintain, and usually it's not there in a low-code environment. So that's something that's still unacknowledged, I think, in low-code development. And it will be something that really needs to be looked into in the future. What kind of tooling will jump in the gap of needs within low-code to test? Because it's very important that we work on the efficiency and reliability of the low-code applications. Because what we see is it's built quickly, and for small applications like that kitchen showroom, it's perfect because I just make an appointment in the app, and if it works, it's just put on the website. It's not integrated to any back office or other application. It just works and gives an email to the kitchen company to plan a meeting with their customers. For that, it's really quickly to test. But with the ERP systems that are being built, efficiency and reliability is definitely a problem. And how to solve that, how to make sure that you can rely on quality, you keep the standards high, and keep away from security breaches. It takes a lot of time to test. And like I said, I hear a lot of people, companies say, it's low code, we do not have to test. Well, a lot of companies that use low code for a year or two know they really need to test. And then they call in a test consultant. And then I say, well, we first need to stop the development, and we need to make a 0.0. We need to know where we stand before we can go on, because then the quality is already so much compromised. So important is when you start with low code to also think about testing. Make sure that you know how to check your quality. Make sure that you have the right dashboards. Try to find ways to be efficient in your testing. Then learn from the low-code success, because if we look for the Formula One success, they learn from every aspect of the race. Even if they win, they still analyze every aspect of the race. Did we make the right choices during the rain? Did we anticipate to a early pit stop of another team? Can they undercut us? Did they do that? How could we prevent it? They never stop. They don't say, we had a success, so yay. Even Max and his team still, after all those wins, say, well, that went wrong. That was not what we had planned. So it's important. It's not just speed, it's strategy, it's teamwork, it's adaptability. You need constantly to check with each other. Are we on the right track? Do we do what we need to do? And are we flexible and adaptable to anything that we might encounter during our development? And that will value your continuous improvement and collaboration. So conclusion is, you have quality under pressure. If you are a Formula One team, or if you are a low-code development team, you will have to make quality under pressure. And only the right team can do that. And everyone needs to be in its place, need to know what to do, but also be motivated to do it. You really need a motivated, collaborative team. And keep to the standards and be creative in your customization. And the better your team is, the better adapted to low code your team is, to changes in requirements, the better you can handle creative customization. Because customization in low code is definitely possible, but with taking care of the standards. And I think that like pit stops, right crews, strategic, adaptive thrives on excellence. The same goes for low code. So find your sweet spot between standards and customization, and you will have a great application on low code. So this was my presentation. Ready for questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Marjolein. I think it was a wonderful session, like the Formula One analogy that you gave, the cracking egg analogy, as well as Disney. It was really creative, definitely for all of us here. So while we get through a few questions, any people who are attending as well, if you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A tab, and we'll try to answer as many questions as possible during this the remaining hour of the webinar. Marjolein, one question is specifically with regards to if an organization is new to no-code, right? So what do you think are the initial steps that that organization should take to embark on their no-code, no-code journeys so that, you know, they take informed decisions?
Well, I think it's important to check if a platform serves your purpose, because it might be that you choose the cheapest platform or the platform that was the best, giving the best demo. I think that what can help is try to find in your network people that wanted the same system and that use different platforms, and then ask about their experience, because they can tell you what issues they ran into, what were the difficulties, but also what are the good points of the platform for them, so that you can make the most educated choice on a platform, not just based on the promotion that and the demo that a platform does, because they will all say that they are the best for you. But if you, for example, I see that a lot of ERP systems are made in low code. Those are quite complex systems. You need a really good platform with options to integration, with good security, to make sure that you'll have a good quality system. Because if you do not choose that, I noticed that in a assignment that I had, I was asked for 3 weeks. It was a project that should stop in 6 months. When I started, it was already a year and a half running. And when I left at a year and a half, so 3 years for project, it was still not done. So it might look that you have the cheapest solution and they promise you they can do it in 6 months. And in 3 years, you still not have a system. And if you then have a platform with vendor lock-in and you cannot integrate well and you cannot change to another platform because you have already spent so many money or time in it, then you're stuck. And you can only hope that the system will evolve enough to give you a good application. So it's very important to make sure that you have the right platform and take time to do that research.
Great, wonderful. And since we're talking about, and you also mentioned about vendor locking, so when there's a situation like, you know, teams or organizations are using legacy systems or, you know, software that is not actually no code. So what kind of tips would you share for them to like successfully integrate to low-code solutions or migrate to low-code solutions?
Well, low-code is used a lot to substitute legacy systems, and it's working quite well for that. But you really need to make sure you have a platform that is suitable for integrations. What I do see in the Netherlands, there's one platform that really is zooming in on that and makes components that one building block can be integrated to every kind of system. So if you look for, and I do not doubt that there are more like that, there are platforms that are really good at integrating with existing systems. So if you have an existing system that is great but has legacy systems, then low-code can definitely be a solution to substitute those legacy systems. But you do, again, need to look for the right platform to do that.
So there has been also things, organizations kind of, when it comes to adoption of low-code platforms, they are kind of always worry about, the limitations of customizations in low-code platforms, right? So what advice or, how do you think these concerns can be addressed, to ensure that, this kind of limitation or, there is this flexibility that can be added into development or, testing with low-code platforms?
Good question. I think that if you look to off-the-shelf products, you get a lot of features usually that you are not using. If you do everything yourself, you can customize away, and low-code is in between of that. So it's more flexible than off-the-shelf. And what I see with a lot of low-code platforms is that they're working to a more integrative approach. So you'll see that a lot of low-code platforms still offer those standards and customization, but they say, well, we are offering the possibility to use any programming language and make your own building blocks. But they do say we did not approve those building blocks. We did not test the quality of those building blocks. So we do not guarantee those building blocks. Yet we do see that they also have public libraries, so that if I would be a professional developer and I have a very great building block build, then I can add it to the library. And if I pay the platform, they even will do a quality assurance on it, and they make it even a qualified building block, and then they will put it to their own library, and I might get a fee for that because I then add it to their platform. So we do see a shift to more customization possibilities, and again, it all hangs, it's very important to make sure that you check if those platforms that you are looking into will offer you that possibility. Because if you have great developers in-house, they can also use low code for the simple parts of your system, and they will have more time and more expertise for the hardest part of the application.
Good. So yeah, there is a question with regards to like, someone starting their low-code journey. What kind of resources or tools would you recommend for individuals to enhance their knowledge and skills with regards to low-code?
Well, what helped me a lot was most platforms will have a playground or online tutorials, and they will give you a lot of insight on what is necessary to do. It also gives you an idea of the entry level that is needed. Because if I do access a playground of platform A, and within 15 minutes, I have my own selling webshop application, then I think, well, that's good. If it takes me 5 days, then I know, well, this is quite a complex application of a platform. And then I would also need another type of developer. What we also see a lot is the low-code application builders of low-code platforms for business flows. And they are all very easy to use and for business analysts. So there's a difference in level, but it's very important to check if they have tutorials and playgrounds, because that will give you the most insight on how complex it is and if you could do it yourself.
Yep. I think that's a wonderful advice. It's always important to do your proof of concept, diligently observe whether the tool fits your context and it really does what it says it does, right? So that's a great one. So coming back in terms of you being into this no-code space for quite some time now. So what have you been hearing in terms of misconceptions or myths of no-code, and your advice on how you could address them? Have you heard any sort of myths being in this domain for some time? Just wanted to hear based on your experience.
Well, it's most of the time people underestimate it. That's what I noticed the most. For example, I was with a customer and they had senior developers that were developing in COBOL. They had the old system built completely, yet for the platform they were junior because they did not know how to work with low code. They also did not work in an agile environment because before they just got a ticket, they built it. The owner of the ticket would test it and then they would deploy it. So what I see is that happens a lot. Teams are usually waterfall or even just standalone, just one developer and no tester. And then all of a sudden we are going to do low code, which has a whole different type of development. They need to work in a team as agile. That's quite one of the biggest underestimations that I see. And besides that, on the other hand, this company thought they could, they saw this risk and they thought, well, we also have senior low-code developers that are junior on the business because they are coming from another company. But they didn't work together. And then you have an information gap. And like I said, then you're not a team. And then you will work besides each other, things take long. If you test it, it just doesn't work. So team and expertise, way of working changes are always costing your velocity. And if you not only choose a new way of development, but also change the team dynamic because you have intern and external, and also you change from waterfall to agile, those are way big changes that it takes time for adaptation. And if you then go quickly into development, sooner or later you will just slow down because the quality cannot be good if there are so many changes for one team.
Wonderful. So yeah, and I think one of the common concerns when it comes to low-code solutions has always been security, right? So how secure they are they meeting the right security standards and protocols? So what are your thoughts on this thing? Like how can organizations ensure that, this low-code solutions meet the right security standards and protocols?
And that's also one of the things that are underestimated and not done properly. I think a lot of companies say, well, you are the owner of the platform, you give me a license, so you are responsible for security, but also load. And that's not how the owners of the platform see it, because they say, well, no, we give you a service, and like with Excel, I'm not responsible for the calculations that you do. So that's also a thing with security. If I change something in a profile information form and it changes the password of that person, that's a security breach. But on which side is it? Should I solve it as the customer, or should the owner of the platform solve it? So security issues are a lot because the platform usually does not offer a lot of, they offer a lot of options, but they do not guarantee those options. You need to integrate them, and that's your responsibility as the builder, as the holder of the license. And I think that's important, because if you do not have a security officer or a ethical hacker or someone who knows his way around security, it might really be a problem. Not only because it's legislation, but also because you are vulnerable. And we see that hackers spare no one, because even the smallest companies get caught and need to pay ransoms if they... So security is definitely something that is a risk that is underestimated and that should be more highlighted.
Great. So I think we're towards the end of our webinar. So I definitely want to ask you one question. Most of this low-code and no-code development tools are and testing platforms are gaining popularity in today's era. So where do you see the this evolving in the future, and what are the opportunities or challenges do you foresee with its continued growth?
Well, I know that in the past 2 years, of 2 years ago, Gartner already said 75% of the applications in 2024 will be built in low code. And people were skeptical about it, but I think that they're quite accurate, because low code is here to stay. Yet I do think that low code, because it's more and more embraced by professional engineers, that it will help them to make those easier parts of systems, of applications, to build them in low code. And then they have more spare time to focus on the hardest part and make sure that those parts look excellent. So I think that low code will be used as a tool to make applications more advanced, because you have the parts that are easy in low code, and the advanced parts will have more time and more energy resources available. Besides that, I think that AI will be important, but also sustainability, because if you build in low code, you'll have less. It's a way more green way of development, because if you use some programming languages, and that's in my other presentation, like Python or Java, those are quite heavy on the environment. And low code is proven to be a good way of green software development. And with the legislations on, you need to point out what's your environmental footprint. I think that low code in that way will also be very much growing in the coming years. And like I said, AI will be an important factor, and AI is quite complex, but we want to bring it to the people. So I think that AI will also conquer low code and will help you build applications.
Wonderful. Great advice. I think a wonderful closing statement to end this wonderful webinar. I hope Gartner's predictions come right, and it's all good for us, for the low-code community as well, to enjoy and reap the benefits of low-code. So ending it here, I'd like to thank everyone for giving your precious hour to be here and share your thoughts with us and learn from us and learn from Marjolein specifically. So thank you so much for being there and giving your time, Marjolein. It was an honor to have you here with us in the Q community, share your knowledge. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone has any other questions, please approach me on LinkedIn or through my website, ladylowcode.com. So please reach out if you have any questions, or if you have some news on the low code, because I would really also hear insights from others.
Awesome. So thank you. Thanks, everyone. You can put in your comments in the chat if you would like to thank Marjolein for her time. And again, thank you, everyone, for being here and making this special. Thank you. Good day.